Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I'll start my story by saying that I've always been a fighter in one way or another. Even before becoming a mom to my amazing daughter, Emily, life has thrown its fair share of challenges my way, but I've never backed down from them. I've always managed to pick myself up and keep moving forward. Before becoming a mom, I had a career that I loved. It wasn't something that you'd expect, and most people wouldn't even guess it about me. But I used to do something pretty unique. It was exhilarating to say the least. This experience helped shape me into the strong person I am. When Emily came into my life, everything changed. Being a mom brought a new sense of purpose and joy that I had never known before. She's such a bright, lively, and loving little girl. We have a special bond that words cannot do justice. Over time, we faced our fair share of challenges. As you may have guessed, Emily is autistic, which has presented its own unique set of hurdles for us. But let me tell you, this girl is a superhero in her own right. She has a way of looking at the world that is just truly magical. My encounter with the menace called Karen begins with us arriving at the park one day, with Emily just being overjoyed. She was giggling and hopping around like a little bunny. I got her bike out and she hopped on, pedaling away with joy. After a while, I noticed a woman giving us the evil eye from a distance. I'll admit, I've heard stories about Karens, but I never thought I'd actually meet one. She had the haircut and everything. Karen and her bratty sidekick started making their way toward Emily. I could sense trouble brewing, but I didn't want to make any assumptions. As they approached, I greeted them with a warm smile, hoping for the best.
Hey there! My little boy over here has been wanting to ride a bike for ages, and I think he'd really enjoy trying your daughter's bike.
Now, I am all for sharing, but something about Karen's aura didn't sit right with me. Besides, Emily was having the time of her life, and I didn't want to disrupt her. So, I politely declined. I'm sorry, but my daughter is having her moment right now, so maybe another time. Well, let me tell you, that didn't go over well with Karen. She turned her wrathful gaze toward Emily and demanded,
"Seriously? No, you're gonna let my son ride that bike right now."
Emily got a bit confused and uncomfortable by the sudden demand. Her bike was her comfort zone and she didn't understand why this lady was behaving this way. I gently told Karen, "I understand that your son may want to ride, but my kid needs some space. Please, give us some room." Karen, however, wasn't about to take no for an answer. She grabbed her brat and tried to force him onto the bike, ignoring Emily's visible discomfort. And that's when I stepped in. My mama bear instincts kicked in. "Listen here, lady, I said no." I raised my voice. "Leave my daughter alone and find something else for your son to do. You're not going to push us around." Karen huffed and, surprisingly, walked away, dragging her kid behind her. Phew, crisis averted, right? Wrong. The drama was just beginning. About 15 minutes later, I was chatting with a friendly mom that I'd met at the park earlier, where we saw Karen charging back towards us like a raging bull. I could feel the tension rise in my chest and I knew she was trouble. Before I could react, she pushed Emily off her bike, snatched it, and pulled it away with her kid trailing behind her. I was shocked and enraged as I saw my daughter on the ground in distress, with her eyes filling up with tears while looking at me with utter confusion. And all I could think of was not letting this horrible human being get away with assaulting my autistic kid. After I made sure Emily was okay for a second, I gave her a quick hug, left her with a friendly mom from earlier, and without a second thought, I sprinted after Karen, determined to catch up to that whale of a woman and teach her a lesson or two. Now, here is a little secret about me that I haven't shared yet. I used to be a professional MMA fighter. Yep, you heard that right. And let me tell you, my moves were still on point. As I got up to Karen, adrenaline pumping through my veins, I knew I had to stop her. In one swift motion, I delivered the masterful flying kick to her back. She flew forward like a sack of potatoes, crashing face first into the ground. with her brat being too busy trying to ride the bike that just fell in front of him to notice his entitled mother's fate. I could hear gasps from the bystanders. To be honest, even I surprised myself a little. Just as Karen was moaning in pain, the police arrived on a scene. Someone must have called him, and they took statements from the witnesses, and it was pretty clear who the guilty party was. Karen was soon in handcuffs, wailing and protesting. The officer approached me and asked, "Ma'am, would you like to press charges?" I took a deep breath and then replied, "Yes, please. This woman attacked my daughter and stole her bike. I need her punished." Karen was hauled away and her boy was taken into the care of a family member who had arrived shortly after the chaos. My little kiddo got her bike back, and I held her close, thankful that she was safe. As the crowd began to disperse, the friendly mom I had met earlier came up to me with what looked to be some admiration in her eyes. "Wow, you were amazing. I had no idea you could pull off a move like that." I laughed a bit and said, "Yeah, it's not something that comes up in everyday conversation, but I used to be a fighter back in the day, and it seems that old skills die hard." She smiled and said, "Well, Emily is lucky to have such a fierce and caring mom." And from that day on, we became fast friends. Our little group of moms at the park grew, and Emily had a fantastic time with her new friends. Of course, we kept an eye out for any potential Karens out there, but luckily, they were few and far between. After the incident at the park, the police conducted a thorough investigation, and the truth about Karen started to unravel. It turned out that her encounter with me and Emily wasn't an isolated incident. This wasn't her first time offending someone's child the way she did with Emily. She had a history of causing trouble in the neighborhood, and it went far beyond just being an entitled and pushy person. Numerous witnesses came forward, sharing their own experiences with Karen's aggressive behavior. There were accounts of her harassing other parents and children, causing disturbances at public places, and even instances of her getting physical with people who dared to say no to her. As the testimonies piled up, it became evident that Karen's sense of entitlement had been escalating over time. And with a mounting list of charges against her, Karen found herself in a situation she couldn't charm her way out of. The court recognized the seriousness of her offenses and her utter lack of remorse. And finally, after an intense legal battle, the verdict was delivered. Karen was found guilty on multiple charges, including assault, theft, and child abuse. The judge sentenced her to prison, among other things. So there you have it, a wild, unexpected adventure at the park that brought out the MMA fighter in me. But in the end, it was all about protecting my precious daughter and showing that being entitled doesn't get you anywhere. And hey, you never know what hidden talent a mom can have up her sleeve. Hey there everyone, my name is Maddie, and today I'm going to tell you about the time my crazy mother-in-law turned my life upside down. It all started when I met the love of my life, Sam. He was sweet, charming, and made my heart skip a beat. I thought I hit the jackpot with him, but little did I know that his mom, Mary, would soon become the monster-in-law of my nightmares. So Sam and I decided to tie the knot. We were over the moon with happiness and couldn't wait to share the news with our families. I'd heard some mother-in-law horror stories before, but I brushed them off, thinking, nah, that won't happen to us. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong. The moment we broke the news to Mary, she looked like she swallowed a sour lemon. Instead of the expected hugs and congratulations, she muttered something about being too young for marriage and stormed out of the room. My jaw almost hit the floor. The first signs of her monster-in-law behavior surfaced when we were planning the wedding. She insisted on a massive guest list filled with people we'd never ever heard of. When we gently suggested keeping it intimate, she threw a fit like a toddler, denied candy at the store. "Mary, we just want a small cozy wedding," I said, trying to remain calm. But she shot back. "No, it's my son's wedding, and I want everyone to see how perfect he is." Fast forward to the big day and Mary made her grand entrance wearing a gown that could rival the Queen's. I have to admit she looked stunning. But did she really need to overshadow the bride like that? As the ceremony began, she loudly sobbed in the front row, stealing the attention away from our vows. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, Mary clapped so loudly I swear I saw the chandelier shake. Later on during the reception, she cornered me and said, "Listen, I hope you know I will always be the #1 woman in Sam's life." I chuckled nervously, trying to play it off. "Of course, Mary, but I think there is enough love in his heart for both of us." The master-in-law didn't stop there. After the wedding, she would drop by unannounced, redecorating our home and reorganizing my kitchen. I once found my underwear neatly folded and color-coded, and I couldn't decide whether to be horrified or amused. Just kidding, I was creeped out like no tomorrow. One day, while having lunch with my best friend Jess, I vented about Mary's constant meddling. Jess laughed, saying, "Girl, you've got yourself a classic Just No Mel. Head over to r/JustNoMel and you'll find your people there." And oh boy, she was right. As I discovered that subreddit, I realized I wasn't alone. Hundreds of people shared their own master-in-law stories, and it felt like an enormous support group. Anyways, one day Sam and I had invited Mary and other family members over to celebrate our first housewarming. We were thrilled to show off our new home, and we put in so much effort to make it cozy and beautiful. As the guests arrived, I greeted everyone with a smile, hoping for a peaceful evening. But deep down I knew Mary had something up her sleeve. She couldn't resist the opportunity to rain on our parade. After a delightful dinner, Mary asked us to use a restroom. No biggie, right? But when she came back, she had a wicked grin on her face. "Maddie dear, I noticed your bathroom could use some sprucing up. I brought a few decorations from home. I hope you don't mind." Before I could respond, she'd already hung up a hideous painting of a sad clown. I kid you not, it was like something out of a horror movie. I tried to hide my shock and thanked her for the gift, but things took a turn for the worse when she added, "And I thought you could use this too." She placed a tacky plastic flower arrangement on the kitchen counter, making it look like something from a dated 70s sitcom. My jaw hit the floor, and I could see Sam cringe beside me. It was clear she wasn't trying to be helpful, but rather making a statement about my own taste. Still, I swallowed my pride and said, "Mary, that's very thoughtful of you, but our decoration style is a bit different. We prefer a more minimalist look." Her response? "Oh, I see. You're one of those modern couples who think they are too good for a little color in their lives." Oh, I was done being polite. "No, Mary, it's not about that. We just want our home to reflect our personality." The tension in the room was insane. "Well, if you insist on being so dull, I suppose there is nothing I can do about it." I felt my blood boil, but I didn't want to ruin the evening for everyone else. So I took a deep breath and said, "Mary, we appreciate your thoughts, but we prefer to choose our own decorations." As the night went on, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being undermined and disrespected in my own home. It wasn't just about the ugly decor, it was about Mary's constant need to control and belittle us, specifically me. Then it happened. A few months after that, we returned home one day expecting a relaxing evening, but instead we were in for a shock. As we stepped into our house, we noticed something was off. There was a faint smell of potpourri, and the living room looked a bit too tidy for our liking. And then we heard it, the sound of someone rummaging through our kitchen cabinets. I glanced at Sam and his eyes widened. We tiptoed towards the kitchen and peeked inside, only to find Mary in all her glory inspecting our pots and pans. "What on earth is going on?" I whispered to Sam. He shook his head, clearly at a loss for words. "I have no idea. Let's go talk to her." We cleared our throats to get her attention, and she turned around, wearing the smuggest grin I'd ever seen. "Oh, hi dears. I just thought I'd stop by and stay with you for a while," she replied casually. "You could use some life tips from your dear old mother-in-law. Plus, I'm starting to feel lonely lately, so it's a win-win." Oh, my blood was boiling at this point. "Mary, this is our home. You can't just barge in like this. We need our space and privacy." She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, don't be silly. You'll love having me here.
Oh, by the way, I set my things in your room. I'll be staying in it if you don't mind. It's more convenient for me, to be honest with you.
Sam and I were shocked at this point. Was she serious? We had to put a stop to this madness. Mom, you can't stay here. We never agreed to this. And it's not okay for you to impose yourself on us like this. She scoffed.
Well, I thought you'd appreciate my help. You two are so young and inexperienced.
That was it. I took a deep breath and said, Mary, we appreciate your concern. We're adults and we can handle our own lives. We need you to leave right now. She looked taken aback, but her smugness quickly turned into anger.
Fine, but don't come crying to me when everything falls apart.
Sam escorted her out of the house along with her bags while I stayed behind, trying to process what had just happened. We'd had enough of her invasive behavior and it was time to take a stand. After she left, we sat down together and had a serious talk. We both agreed that enough was enough, and it was time to cut contact with Mary. It wasn't an easy decision, but for the sake of our sanity and happiness, it was necessary. We changed the locks and made sure to secure our home. We blocked her number and social media accounts, and we informed our close friends and family about our decision and why we took it. In the beginning, it was tough, but as time went on, the weight lifted from our shoulders and we felt more at peace than ever. Looking back, cutting contact with Mary was one of the best decisions we ever made. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of doubt, but in the end, it was the right choice for us. So to all you brave souls out there dealing with overbearing monster-in-laws, remember this. You have the power to set boundaries and protect your happiness. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and create the life you deserve. Sometimes, cutting toxic people out of your life is the healthiest choice you can make. Stay strong and stay true to yourselves. Oh boy, here we go. I've lurked on this subreddit for years but stopped due to the pandemic for mental health reasons. But I wanted to tell you the story for a while now. Let's start from the beginning. It was my very first semester as a college freshman. I officially moved into my college dorm to start this new chapter of my life. I'm an international student, so it was a tough experience once reality settled. Thankfully, I had my cousin, whom I haven't seen in years, and his wife, who lived in Dallas, helped me with getting a US number, bedding, and school supplies. Fast forward to Thanksgiving break, I accepted my cousin's offer to go to Dallas for the break since it was better than staying in the dorms. I met his two kids, a son and a daughter, and we catch up with each other seeing how our lives went up to that point. The break ended and I went back to college to study for finals. Then it happened. My cousin's wife asked for a favor via text. The favor? Take their 8-year-old son home back to the Caribbean with me because his godmother wanted to see him. I told her that I wasn't able to do that because I didn't know when my exams were finished. I actually did know when. I just told her that so she would leave me alone or do something herself. I already made up my mind with my mom's support that I wasn't doing that. Fast forward weeks later, I was chilling in the airport minding my own business when my good cousin called me. He asked if I was doing something for his wife. I told him no, and I explained myself. He thanked me, and I thought that was the end of it. But no, I saw her with their son holding a suitcase and a carry-on when I was walking to my gate. My cousin was nowhere to be seen. I asked her what she was doing and she gave me some sub-story of how his godmother wanted to see him and told him that he will be good as he was hugging my leg. I was shocked. I felt my heart race. The groups were being called and I had to make a decision. Note, I just turned 18 at the time. I barely knew this child. I like to have everything in order and pre-plan to avoid confusion, and this would complicate everything. Furthermore, immigration will be on my case. Finally, I don't know who the godmother is or how she looks. I told her no, stating that if she wanted to do this, they could have planned a family trip together and not dump their kids on me. She said that she already bought the ticket and I might as well take him. I told her no again and went on my flight. My family was proud of me for standing my ground as I didn't like her either. Turns out that sometime after or during the pandemic, my cousin and his wife got divorced. Understandable. His now ex-wife went behind his back trying to get his son on an international flight they could have planned a family trip together. Crazy, eh?